exclusive episode of Surviving the Survivor. We bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation, and welcome to another episode of Surviving the Survivor. You know it's a Monday because I played the close at the beginning, but I got it right almost immediately, so my apologies. But today, a serious topic that we are discussing, and of course, it is about Riley Strain. He is the University of Missouri student, just 22 years old, who went missing 10 days ago. He was on a trip with some fraternity brothers. He was in Nashville with his Delta Chi brothers. His friends told the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department that they had last seen him at Luke Bryan's 32 Bridge Food and Drink Restaurant and Bar that night, Friday night, a week ago from this past Friday. And since then, no one has really seen or heard from Riley Strain. We have the privilege today of being joined by Riley Strain's cousin, Chelsea Strain. Chelsea, thank you so much. I see that Mizzou sweatshirt. Yeah, you go there as well?
I did not, but my family, we've been Mizzou fans basically our entire lives.
Your lives. And so I know your cousins. What is the connection? Is it your mother? What's the connection family?
My dad's only sister is Riley's mom.
Your dad's only sister, got it, is Riley's mom. Okay, so thank you so much for being here. Obviously, we're thinking of you and your family. This is not a fun time, and we've got a really great community. And right off the bat, prayers for the family. You'll be seeing a lot of that tonight. Rosie Wood saying, Chelsea, so wonderful for you to be here. And I think we're supposed to be joined as well by Chris Dingman, who's a family spokesperson. He's real busy, obviously, with so many requests from the media. So he'll hop on, I'm sure, whenever he can get around to it in the next bit of time. Meanwhile, Doug MacGregor, bottom right-hand corner of the screen with a headset on. He's better known as the Geoprofiler. He's a forensic behavioral analyst and a consultant specializing in geographic profiling and linkage analysis for violent crime and missing persons. This obviously a missing persons case right now. He has a Master's of Science from Missouri State University, not Mizzou per se, but Missouri, kind of close. And he lives in Ottawa, Canada. And then last but not least, we've got Tom Simon. He served with the FBI for 26 years as a special agent with an expertise in white-collar crime investigations and sensitive national security matters. He now runs a full-service private investigation firm known as Simon Worldwide Investigation. So an amazing panel, and obviously a family member of Riley Strain's on today. Chelsea's father is his sister is Riley's mother. So very close connection. There was a tweet today from the Nashville Police Department. I'm going to read this tweet verbatim right now. They say, no evidence of foul play has surfaced as work continues to locate Riley Strain. On Sunday evening, Riley's parents met with some of the detective team and received a full briefing on the work being done. They were also shown available video. I just want to go to Tom on that. So, Tom, I know that you and the Geoprofiler, Doug, were talking a little bit before going on air. How can they be so certain at this point that no foul play is involved if no one seems to know where Riley is, Tom?
I think we're just talking about the absence of evidence of foul play at this point. It's it's a two-sided coin, right? We don't know that something, someone has done something bad to Riley. And so at this point, the police don't have suspects that they're telling us about. And so therefore, they're not trying to create a panic in the community. We also need to understand that this is a big tourist town. Their entire economy is based on the idea that people go there and feel safe, having a good time. So you can understand why they may be hesitant to talk about foul play, but it's also premature. If they truly don't know what happened to Riley, we're still trying to hold out hope that maybe we find him alive somehow, and we're still trying to figure out what happened. So I don't think that we should read too much into that either way.
Geoprofiler, and then I'm going to, dig in with Chelsea and how the family is doing. But I just want to get some of this stuff out of the way. Doug, it's been 10 days, but if you were, let's say, hypothetically, if you were retained by the Strain family to work on this case, where would you begin today with this?
Working on this case, you'd have to, and I'm sure the Nashville police are doing this, but you're running two concurrent investigations. One, you're running a body recovery search, and then the other search is a missing persons investigation as well, because Riley could very well still be alive and healthy somewhere. And like Tom said, at the moment, it doesn't appear that there's evidence of foul play. So those would be the two investigations that you'd be running side by side.
Chelsea, Riley's stepfather was just quoted yesterday. He says, it's been a week. We haven't heard his voice. It's been closer to 10 days now, but we haven't gotten a text from him. We're ready. In the middle of the night, you hear that ping on your cell phone. You're jumping up. You're like, is it Riley? Is it somebody that knows something about Riley? So yeah, it's time to bring him home. Chris was telling News 2. It was either yesterday or the day before. But Chelsea, how are you holding up?
As well as it can be expected in a situation like this. I think all of us are just trying so hard to find him that staying strong is really the only thing that we can do in a moment right now. Not knowing, every day, like I've been telling people, every day we get a little bit of more of information in order to help find him. But yeah, in this moment, just trying to stay as strong as I can, not only for myself and my health, but for my family and my aunt and uncle as well.
Yeah, and how close are you and Riley?
We grew up side by side. He's basically like my little brother. I have an older brother and we are both very close to him, but Riley is just like a brother to us. We live 5 minutes down the road from each other. We text each other once a week, checking on each other, seeing how each other are doing. Because I live in Kansas City, he goes to Mizzou, so we don't really get to see each other very much, and we're always at different times in Springfield, seeing family. So we are very close, and we do talk as much as probably more often than one would talk to a cousin.
Yeah, and tell me, tell us about Riley. I mean, I know he's super tall. I made the mistake of saying 6'5", and everyone corrected me and said, no, he's 6'7", and he's a lean guy, obviously. Is he 6'7", by the way? Is he that tall?
Yes, he is 6'7".
Where's the height come from in the family?
His dad is very tall as well. And so my aunt, she's around 5'10". My dad is 6'4".
Wow.
Our grandpa was around 6'3", 6'4". So everyone on that side of the family is very tall.
How tall are you?
I'm only 5'6". I didn't get the height part.
Well, it's still a good height. So tell us a little bit about Riley. I mean, we don't really know much about him. We've seen his smile. I mean, he looks like such a nice young guy, but what should we know about him?
He is very friendly. All our entire family is very friendly. We don't really know a stranger. We're always willing to talk to anyone in need or that needs help. Riley is very sweet, very hardworking. I know he just got a job and he hasn't even graduated college yet. He's just that type of kid. He's very strong-willed and stubborn, just like the rest of us are. But, like my brother says, he's a good kid. He super kind, super sweet, would do anything for anybody in any need, even if he was in need himself.
And what's his major? And you said he has a job already. What's the job?
He's a business major. I believe. Let me think exactly what it is, because he called us all about it the other day.
It'll come to you.
No, you're good. It's like helping with financial planning.
Financial planning. There you go.
Yes.
There you go. It's a good job. Good career move. So Like I said, he looks like a great guy. He was there with his fraternity brothers. Typically what I do is our show, we always have what we call best guests. These are the experts in their field. And I open it up to STS Nation, which is our community. I want to obviously go through the events, but I wanted to give you an opportunity. Do you have questions? Tom is a former FBI agent and knows the world of investigations. And Doug specializes in tracking down missing persons. So I'm just wondering if you have any questions for them. Have at it.
I do have one question. I know me and my family obviously have this. We all have the same question, but so after they found his debit card and it was by itself, is that common?
Can I take that?
Yeah, Tom, go ahead.
All right. So just looking at it quite logically, right? Leave my expertise aside, that it was either there because Riley dropped it, right? Which seems possible, but doubtful. Maybe he stepped in the woods to use the restroom because he got thrown out of the bar unexpectedly, and he had been drinking at least one drink and 2 glasses of water. So, and then perhaps he dropped it. I just feel like that's unlikely. Who's carrying their debit card loose like that? Maybe he was. Who knows? Or someone took it while Riley, took it from Riley, either at that encampment or elsewhere, and the card was transported then to that homeless encampment. Either way, I think that spot, that encampment there, needs to be ground zero of all investigative efforts. And I think Nashville Police, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, Chelsea, has done a pretty good job of keeping the family apprised of updates and providing information to the public. But my only critique is that they need to be treating that spot where that debit card was found as a crime scene. They need to tape it off. All day online, I've been watching TikTokers and rubberneckers there all day marching through this crime scene. As if there's nothing going on, as if it's a tourist attraction. That needs to be taped off, and they need to begin pulling out every single piece of debris from there, and then raking it down, looking for hairs, fibers, fingerprints, another credit card, anything, his shirt, any article of clothing. When I was an FBI agent, I conducted many searches of landfills and garbage dumps looking for human remains. And so I know that a river embankment full of trash is possible to do a debris search, and I haven't seen that happening yet.
Chelsea, one of the things that came up that maybe you can clarify is that a homeless person, or reportedly to be a homeless person, got a hold of Riley's shirt, and then some people said that was not accurate. Do you have any confirmation of that, one way or the other? Have you found out exactly what the story is behind that?
No. So like we've heard a lady was out feeding the homeless. They saw a man on a bicycle that had like a half zip sweatshirt on, but they could see the front of the shirt, and it looked like the shirt that Riley had on. But unfortunately, since then, nobody has seen that person. So, and we don't have any photos or any proof of that person having that photo on, besides the lady that did see him with that on. So, unfortunately, haven't been able to find him or the shirt.
And Chelsea, at any point during this conversation, we usually talk for about an hour and change. If you have any questions for our experts, please jump in. And I think we have Chris Dingman. Hey, Chris, how are you? Can't hear you, but my let's see. I'm gonna bounce you out, and the COE will take care of you, and then we'll get you back in. There's a super chat here from Allie B from Tennessee. God bless you, Chelsea. Thank you for your perseverance through the situation. Curious what you all think about the new police video body cam footage that came out today. We actually have it here. Chelsea, I assume you've had a chance to see it?
Yes.
All right, so let's play it for the Geoprofiler and for Tom, and then we can discuss. This is a little bit, it's the entire body cam clip, and then we go back to a slow motion of his encounter with Riley. This is a police officer, a beat officer, who's going to check on a burglary in a car. Let's watch together.
How you doing, sir? I'm good. How are you? Good.
So that was Riley who walked right by. This is the remainder of the body. This is a police officer. That red truck was broken into, so he's just looking around. and it's going to play out a little bit, and then we'll go back and show you this encounter that you had, very brief encounter with Riley, and then we'll get Doug and Tom's take on this as well as Chelsea.
It was over here on Gay Street, near First Avenue North.
And this is where it's slowed up. That is Riley. You can see that distinct shirt. It's like multicolored with a black pocket. And just going to bring this up and mute it and keep it playing here. But Doug MacGregor, I mean, I would look at this and not see much. You're the expert. What are you looking for in a video like this?
First questions I'd have would be, why is he there and where is he headed? Would be the first two questions I have. It's obviously, I don't know Nashville very well. I've only briefly been there once, but where he is in that body cam footage is it's off the strip. It's in an unpopulated area. It's not in the tourist district. It's along a street, wherever that street's headed. So I would have to take a look and see, which direction he's headed there. And if that is the last footage of Riley, that would become, for me, that become the place last seen. So then as Tom mentioned with the evidence, being the place last seen, that's where you restart your search from that location. If that is in fact the PLS, the place last seen.
Have the police given us a timestamp on that video? I looked everywhere for it, and I couldn't. I created my own timeline on a spreadsheet to understand the case better, and yet I could never find anyone to confirm exactly what time the body cam footage was.
Yeah, I could not find that either. The only thing I could find, obviously, is that they released it today. But Chelsea, do you happen to know, not even a precise time, just an approximate time of when this encounter happened with this police officer, Chelsea?
No, all we know is that it was before both bridges.
Right, because it's right before the Woodland Bridge there.
Yes,
on he's on Gay Street, right before the Woodland Bridge. And so my guess is it has to be sometime shortly before 10 p.m.
And do we know, Tom, I know you said you were looking at a lot of maps today, but do we know if he's heading toward the Cumberland River in this direction?
Yeah, my understanding is that to his right is the Cumberland River, and the lights you're probably seeing are across the river. And so if he were to take that right, he would be headed toward the, I believe it's the Woodland Bridge. I also noticed that he's not stumbling much very more, but I probably account that to the idea that he sees a uniformed police officer and he doesn't want to give the impression of being intoxicated in public. Kind of like we all did when we were young, and when we were horsing around and our parents walk in the room, you act like you're behaving yourself. And so it's clear that he's trying to make a good impression to a police officer, so he doesn't give the impression of being intoxicated in public, which is perfectly normal and perfectly natural. But it also doesn't look like he's being pursued, right? There were theories that I read online that someone was chasing him and that's why he was running in one clip. But clearly, if he was being pursued or he was in fear of his life at that point, he would have reached out for that uniformed police officer and sought help. That didn't happen.
And Tom, I am never one to lay blame on law enforcement. I'm a big proponent, big fan of law enforcement. But did this patrol officer do the right thing? If you saw a young guy here who, as you say, seems in fairly decent shape, and by the way, his stepfather even came out and said this gives him hope because he looks better than what reports were. But should this officer have maybe done a little bit more? Said, hey, where are you headed? Where are you coming from? That sort of thing.
Well, let's understand what that officer was doing there at the time. He was investigating a car break-in, right? So the police officer is doing his job, investigating a crime that has just occurred. And he sees a young person walking down the street quite normally, being polite, doesn't seem to be in distress, and certainly doesn't seem to be causing any trouble. The police officer greets him and gets greeted back. It's to me nothing short of a miracle that the police officer even remembered this interaction, because this has to happen dozens of times a night for a patrol officer.
Welcome to Chris. Chris, are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, got you. Great. Thanks again for joining. Obviously, we have Chelsea with us, and Chris Dingman is the family spokesperson. Obviously, please send our thoughts to Michelle and Ryan Gilbert, the father, and the stepfather, Chris. I want to make sure is it pronounced Whited, Michelle's last name?
Yes.
Whited. Oh, there you go. I got it right. But Chris, to you, what's your relationship to the family? I know you're the spokesperson. Are you just a close family friend?
Yes. I've been with the family for close to 40 years.
Wow. And how are you taking this all right now yourself?
I'm fine. I am very motivated, as witness to this conversation we're having. Thank you so much for having us on. I'm trying to get the word out. We need to find Riley. Riley is a great kid. I love the fact that you guys, I've been here on the backside listening. You hit it on the head. That was Riley, and I 100% agree it. Chelsea's going to start smiling because we've had Riley in a few situations where he may have went home and we said, be quiet, sneak into mom's house, don't say anything. That's exactly what I got from watching that video right there. Thank you, sir. How are you doing? You couldn't cue a microsecond of Riley's life and be more on to how nice and gracious that kid is than the last video we currently have of anybody speaking to him.
Chris, are you having any sort of issue with the fact that Nashville police are saying definitively that no foul play is involved here? Tom Steinman, a retired FBI agent, addressed it, and he said it's basically an absence of clues that would lead you to believe that. But do you think, I mean, what are your thoughts about what could have transpired this night?
I totally understand the absence of evidence. I get it. I understand that they have to, and we understand that they are steps in front of us right now. We were very appreciative that they brought the family in last night after the finding of the debit card, did go over the video footage of it, released some more footage. They didn't release it, but we got to see more video footage from the bar, actually inside the bar, what transpired outside, the trail that's went now to where the police officer is. There's businesses all along that route that voluntarily, I'm going to answer your question, but nicely, voluntarily has turned up CCTV footage to the police. They were not asked for it. But we now have a digital trail along with a CCTV trail of Riley and a lot more footage than we had. I'm extremely frustrated. That's why I went to social media on Saturday. I have had a lot of friends. We're from Springfield, Missouri. That's where Riley was born and raised, went to MU, stayed in Missouri. Each state has its own entities of law enforcement. Some call them LEOs, LEs, etc. But when the TBI was brought up, and we're day 6, 7 into this, I'm wanting to know where's the TBI, where's the FBI, where's Homeland. I don't care who we get. Have the Pope come over. I want to find Riley. And yeah, very frustrated. We actually, Chris called, confusing to a lot of people. I'm Chris in Springfield, and he's Riley's stepdad in Nashville. Chris was actually on the phone with the TBI when we were having our war room. The hotel they're staying at actually graciously gave us a conference room in the mornings, and in the evenings we go on speakerphones, we go on Zooms. We lay out all the information that I've received during the day through the internet, social channels, dark web, which is a whole other entity, et cetera, trying to find leads that we can forward. Everything that we've received has been forwarded to the police, but it's frustrating. It's extremely frustrating. With today's technology, how does a 6'5", 6'6", blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid disappear with no evidence? There's no DNA at the scene. There's no issues of vomiting. There's nothing. The boys went down Sunday when they were down there from the last ping of the cell phone. You guys have seen the terrain, and it is variations. There's parts you can get to the river, parts of 10-foot retaining walls, etc., real close in that area. They were looking for broken branches, places that looked like somebody could have been drugged. It had poured down rain tremendously that weekend. The river right now currently is 4 foot lower than it was last weekend when this went down. It peaked at 10 a.m. Saturday, 4 foot higher than it is right now. So they've even went back every day as that rivers went down. They went back to that area and that location. The fact those young ladies found that yesterday, I was actually on a phone call with another TikToker when it went down, was just incredible. I have way more questions on that, but I'm going to let you keep firing.
Wow. Well, you sound incredibly and rightfully invested in this, but much more so than I had anticipated. So kudos to you, even searching the dark web for potential clues. I got a lot of follow-up questions. Rain, he mentioned rain poured down. Doug MacGregor, that's your world. And Chris, just so you know, Tom Simon is without the headphones. He's a retired FBI agent that has his own investigative firm. And then with the headphones is Doug MacGregor, known as the Geoprofiler. So please, usually I open it up to STS Nation, which I will do. And by the way, we're 100 and almost 5,000 strong community with over 2 million views a month. And I'm only saying that because it's a really wide reach. So everyone inside of STS Nation can help. You just have to let them know how, and they will do that. But if you have any questions for Tom or Doug, the Geoprofiler, for either Chelsea or Chris, please fire away. But I have one for Doug, which is the rain. He says it poured down rain that weekend. What does that do in terms of your job, Doug, to track someone down, to geoprofile them? And obviously that makes it a lot harder for dogs potentially to work the search. Right, Doug? Oh, you're muted, I think.
Sorry about that. There we go. Of course, there's complications for canines in conducting their searches if it rains. But if we're talking about the rain and we're focusing on the river for the moment, I know they have been doing sonar searches in the river, and I assume that they have advanced sonar that they are using. But if we are looking at the river and the rainfall, you know, when there's heavy rainfall, rivers are opened up, flow increases, right? Now, I know they've gone back to the location where the debit card is, but you know, let's just look at the possibility of the river. Now, I only know the basics of the Cumberland River and its basin and where it flows from and to, but I did look up that it does flow 0.81 feet per second, which is just under half a mile per hour. So, you know, without any obstructions, there's a possibility that he could be 120 miles away after 10 days. And while that seems implausible, I've seen other cases where bodies are over 100 miles away downstream. Now, I don't know what, I don't know the curvature and what structures such as dams are in the Cumberland River. But what I'm getting at is every single day, especially if we're focusing on the water for this specific question at the moment, that search has to expand downriver, and you have to go as far as a body could possibly have gone. And there's a lot of questions behind that to answer in terms of water behavior in the body. For example, if a body goes in the river face down, they're not going to sink right away. They're going to start floating, right? So the search of that river does have to extend to the farthest possible reach to make it efficient and effective.
This question is coming up just in terms of being able to potentially survive a trip into the river, or just being able to stay physically fit. Chelsea Rosie wants to know if Riley was an athlete. Someone else is asking if he was a good swimmer. What kind of athlete was he?
Well, he played baseball his entire life until high school, and then he played tennis. So, I mean, he was pretty active, especially with tennis. And then his parents also have a lake house. So we were always at the lake swimming. I mean, the lake isn't the same as the river either, so I can't say much about that, but he was an athlete. I mean, he's 6'7", so it's hard not to be an athlete at that height, but
Yeah.
Riley had a swimmer's body. Let's just get it out there. Riley had a swimmer's body.
Yeah,
he does have a swimmer's body. How about that?
He's built like Michael Phelps, and it is true.
Yes.
I just looked into this,
100%.
by the way. We need to keep him in the present tense.
Yes,
he's still out there, and
Hey, Joel, can I address
yeah.
something?
Yeah, sure, Tom.
If you mentioned other investigative agencies who may be interested in kind of acting as a force multiplier to the Nashville Police Department, I think Hollywood has given people the wrong idea that the FBI just barges into cases and pushes the police aside. But I worked plenty of missing persons cases, and the FBI really can't get involved unless one of two things happen. Either the local police invites the FBI to come in to assist with the investigation, or the victim's family makes that call to the FBI and makes that request. If that hasn't happened, the FBI is not going to come in unless there's a reasonable expectation that this is an interstate crime, which this isn't. So if the family is truly interested in having the FBI come into the case and work side by side with a Nashville police officer, my recommendation would be to give a call to the Nashville FBI. And if you need someone to connect you with them, call me offline and I'll make sure they take your call.
And I'll
I will.
Yeah.
I will take you up on that, but we have been in contact with them.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was unclear on that. My fault.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I will connect all of you so you can
Thank
have
you.
open channels. But from Hey, it's Jay. Have Riley's parents asked Texas? This is another one. EquiSearch, they're big to come in and help. I know they would. They want to know what else can we as an internet family do to help. Chris, STS is great at this. What would you want them to do?
You know, we've been reaching out, and a wild piece of evidence that happened with this is this weekend we reached out to the TikTok community. I'm 50 plus years old. I don't TikTok. I don't do Instagram, Twitter. I don't care, guys. I care at this moment, like my life depends on it, because I want my Riley home. But Chelsea's going to start giggling because she knows I have to ask her for questions, and anything that shows up, I'm like instantly to her, here, dissect this. Let's make this happen. I really think that community and what you're doing right here will give us ultimately the leads we need to find Riley with. There's so many pieces that are out there, and he can verify this, you know, like the credit card. When the girls called me on it and they found it, I said, hey, make sure and hold it by the edges. They had gloves on. Don't touch any of the faces. Make sure and secure the area. Don't have people trampling all over it. We're hoping they find fingerprints on that credit card. You know, we have a 900-piece puzzle laying in front of us. We may have 100 pieces. If that's the corner piece that starts and we add 35 pieces to it, guys, we've got something. But anything, if you're on the internet and you see anything related, you guys know more than anything right now. There is, unfortunately, threefold negative stuff, plus positive stuff in finding Riley. But we have to literally go through. I've had over 1,000 messages in 2 days of possible information that I literally spend hours taking to Chelsea, sending to we call it the war room. I actually named it Riley's War Room. And we dissect it and go through it because you have to. You just don't know if the next lead that comes in, the next piece of evidence, even though it's minute, that might be the pillar stone that builds entirely what we need to do to find Riley.
And where are these? Are these just coming from various people around the country, Chris, who are finding your email and sending you the information?
They are direct messaging me. I'm not exaggerating. We've had people that has dissected videos from Australia, Japan. We've had people in Europe. It absolutely blows my mind the amount of coverage that we've been able to produce with this with Riley, which 30 years being in the entertainment industry, doing media, it frustrates me more than even the family, because I'm like, how are we generating this type of buzz and this kid vanishes? I was looking for spaceship sightings. I was hopping on the dark net looking for whoever picked up who in the UFO that night, because maybe Riley swung into the beam. You know, how does this kid vanish with all the technology we have, all the information we have? He just literally vanishes.
This is the most important here. If you see something, say something. You want to call Nashville PD 615. I'm reading this for people who are listening. 615-862-8600. That's 615-862-8600. No tip is too small. I want to leave this photo up and this number, but Ida Shaw, who's a friend of the show, Chelsea, she wants to know if the family has any kind of fund set up, anything to help you guys that we can direct people to her.
We do have a GoFundMe. We also have a Venmo account set up. We set up the Venmo just because the GoFundMe was getting a lot of people donating more than we ever imagined. So we've set up a Venmo in order for them to get money right away. Due to Nashville, it is very expensive to be there. So we have been giving them as much as we can in order for them to spend what they need to there while they're also, all of them are off work at the moment. So we do have a GoFundMe. The only thing is there has been a fake GoFundMe that was created. I posted on my Facebook and reached out to everyone on there, and it's been shared, I think, over 100, maybe 200 times, in order for people not to donate to that one. But there is one just for Riley Strain.
And Chelsea,
yes.
do me a favor. You send me the links that you want
Yeah.
up, and I'm going to put it in the show summary for this episode.
Absolutely.
And everyone can click on that. This is some of the actually, this is the better one. This is some of the surveillance
a
video.
little disoriented in this footage.
Some of the surveillance video from that night. This is actually the
Music
better one.
City over the weekend for a fraternity of.
This is the one where you see him. Chris, when you see him hitting that pole there, did that give you some pause that maybe he could have concussed himself or something, Chris?
Yeah, the crazy part, when those videos were released, naturally they weren't in order. So we had to wait till the third one showed up to put him in order. I'm glad you put that video up right there with him running behind the food truck. The family actually went to the food truck. There's been a lot of people that's jumped on that video, tried to dissect it. At the very far right corner, when that last video starts, there is an altercation in that intersection. A lot of people thought that whoever was in that intersection maybe possibly got a hold of Riley, was trying to rob him, etc. That is not the case. We had family actually went to the food truck, looked at the footage from the food truck. The two individuals in that intersection that had an altercation, we think that is why Riley went behind the food truck instead of walking along the sidewalk. He saw what was going on. Once again, I can't emphasize, he's a teddy bear. He's a 6'6" teddy bear. He doesn't want altercation. Went behind it. The reason I think Riley's running, if you'll see in the background, there's a fire truck that's coming up the back way. There's a blip. You can't see it now, but there's a blip. There's somebody running back behind the food truck. I think they literally separated within half a second of Riley coming through there. Riley thought maybe they were chasing him. We actually went to that pole where Riley went down, looking for possible blood, anything that would have shown that how hard the impact would have been with Riley. Graciously, there's not. So yeah, 100%. You go to the next video, he's walking down, holding the wall, rubbing the back of his head. That's, this right here, that is directly after what had happened. Yes, he has a stinger on him. Yeah, the thought of a concussion, something even more, was really disheartening for the family, because we're like, wow, we don't know what happened in the bar. We know he was served alcohol. He bought alcohol. It's not like they forced it in him. He has got a buzz, or he's, drunk. And then all of a sudden he takes a whack to the middle of his shoulders in his head. It just keeps amplifying. But by the time you get to the next video, and if you roll that one, he keeps, at first we thought maybe he was trying to do a cell phone, but he's actually rubbing the back of his head and shoulders. By the time you get to here, Riley's more upright. He's stumbling. He goes through the intersection, does the 360, sees a lady that's walking by, acts like he kind of knows her, and takes off with her,
Yeah,
which
right there,
which the people we've talked to, and I've had, it's amazing, and I'll try to get you guys with them. I had over 100 people that I've had to buy extra storage. I've had over 100 people reach out to me that has had we're just going to negative instances in the city of Nashville. And every one of them that had something slipped to them in a drink, etc., we don't know that, was like it was a euphoria. When you're drinking and you're extremely drunk, you may be cordial to a couple of your friends, but most generally, if some stranger comes up to you, you're not real opening arms and stuff. The fact Riley was walking with people and just excited and, euphoric, and sometimes when he's walking with the people, when he comes up to the officer, he starts the conversation, then the officer comes back, and then they cat and mouse for just a little bit. Everything we get in this puzzle just leads to 100 more leads. That's what's frustrating about it.
Yeah.
While we're on this video, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but at the very beginning of the video, you can like glimpsely see Riley, and he is running.
Yeah.
In the
And
very
this one right
beginning
here?
of the in the body cam video.
Oh, in the body cam. Okay, let me bring that up then.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Running, and you can hear like his footsteps start to like get heavy as he's trying to slow down.
He comes back here. Again, Doug MacGregor, you're the expert along with Tom. What are you looking for in these various videos? Like, what are you specifically trying to figure out?
For myself, I'm just looking for, behavior, his demeanor, his gait, direction he's headed, where he is. But missing persons investigations, when you're looking for a missing person, you're looking for the person, right? You're looking for the person, and that is based on their behavior, their personality, their age, their state of mind, whether they have dementia, whatever it is. Now, when it comes to a missing person who's inebriated, and we don't know to what level Riley's inebriated, and we don't know if there's anything other than alcohol in there, we're not sure. But he is inebriated. And when you're looking for an inebriated person, you're looking for a 22-year-old, you're looking for a teenager, you're looking for an infant, you're looking for a toddler. And the reason I say that is because every age of person acts differently when they're missing, right?
Mhm.
And when a substance is added into that, that completely changes your behavior. It doesn't matter what age you are. Okay. And, just a quick example. Most of us, we like the path of least resistance, right? So if we're walking home and we're at the end of a street, and to get home quickly, we can cross over a small creek, or we can go 100 yards away and go over a bridge. We're going to do that. It's a path of least resistance. We're not going to get wet, but somebody drunk is just going to cross that creek, right? A lot of people will just take off their shoes and cross that creek. Okay. They will go outside of what is normal for their age and their behavior. And it doesn't matter what age you are, these things come into play. Logical reasoning goes out the window. Rational thinking goes out the window. Decision making, it all changes. So when you're looking for Riley, you can't just look for a missing adult 22-year-old male, because he's not necessarily acting like that. His decision making may not be like that, right? So, the first thing I look at is, he said he was going back to the hotel. He's not going back to the hotel. He's headed in a completely different direction. So what is going through his mind? I had several years back, I went to Las Vegas, and we were staying off the strip at the Palms. And at the end of the night, I took a taxi back to the Palms. It was the logical thing to do. I had a friend that ran the 5 miles barefoot back to the Palms over the interstate, whatever it was. That's my point, is that we were both adult males. We acted differently, right? So in searching for Riley, the Nashville police, I also recommend that the family put together a search as well with volunteers, the public. But you got to think of how he may have acted, and also what might he have been attracted to. The first thing you do when you look for a toddler at a park, you look for flowers, you look for train tracks, you look for the play structure, things that they're attracted to, right? Same thing with somebody who's drunk. What are they attracted to? Did he leave here and he wanted to go to another bar? Did he see some people he wanted to hang out with? So what might he have done, and why, and did that influence his actions and the direction he was headed?
I can answer some of those questions for you. So per the footage from the bar, I'm a wealth of knowledge on this. Riley was in the second story of Luke Bryan's bar and was escorted out what was retorted by the fraternity house as the back alley. There is none at Luke Bryan's. Was escorted out the side door, which is policy for the bar. At 10 o'clock, 9:30 on a Friday night, you couldn't have went through the front door to begin with anyway. So they go out the side door. Directly across the street is another bar. Everybody can Google and figure out where that is. Riley went out the door directly across the street and tried to go into that facility. He was declined. to go in that facility. They are joining management bars. They literally just watched him walk out one door that they know is a door they take people out of to the other facility. As far as who the people that was there with him, they were in 2 other bars that we have confirmed. Chelsea's been helping me on this, very close to that bar that they were at. Some of the people that was in one of the other bars that wasn't the one across the street was under the assumption that Riley was coming to them. He was asked to leave. They were in communication with the other people that was in the bar. Hey, Riley's out. Where are you guys at? Chelsea probably remembered. I don't, and it doesn't really matter, but just so we have context of the story. So Riley was in intentions of going to another bar to meet up with friends, etc. The direction he went, though, we all now know was the complete opposite direction of any of his friends or even the hotel. So I don't know what that adds to your deal, but Riley, I can tell you right now, and you guys may or may not know what Lake of the Ozarks is, but we do like to entertain on the lake up here. And Riley is accustomed to going out and having some fun, Riley's that guy that knows his limits. He would stop back, and he would also be the guy that would have a few beers, have some fun, and then make fun of everybody else and make sure they got home. Why Riley would go in that direction, and I understand what you're saying. We're not talking about a mentally intelligent kid at this moment, but if you track that and walk that at night, every step he gets once he gets down to First Street is darker, farther away from everybody, and more secluded. Fill me in on why you think he would be drawn to that, because this kid was even drunk or whatever was going on. He was smart enough to try to go across to the next bar to try to find some friends. Why do you think he would be drawn to something like that?
It may have just been at what point, where his intoxication was at that time. For example, let's say he had, hypothetically speaking, he had 10 shots, right? And then he wasn't quite, they hadn't kicked in yet. So he had the wherewithal to go across the street to this other bar. And then after that, I started to kick in and just started to get disoriented, right? So it's tough to say where his intoxication level was at that time. Walking off in the other direction, the opposite direction of the hotel, being inebriated, it could have been something as simple as disorientation, right? Most people have at some point been disoriented to some extent when they're inebriated, right? So he could have been thinking he was going the right direction, but not. It's tough to say, but it could also be just something as simple as, like, I've known people that when they've gotten drunk, they just like to wander off on their own and be by themselves. So it's so tough to say with somebody who's inebriated what's going through their mind, because it might make sense to them at the moment, but it wouldn't make sense to any of us if we actually knew what that reason was. Right. So it's something to keep that in mind.
Yeah, as far as the bar goes, in the hour and 45 minutes approximately he was in it, he was served 1 alcoholic drink and 2 bottles of water.
Yeah, right. But
and we know that there was beforehand, but I'm just giving you a little context on where we were at. Also, even if he did, and I'm telling you right now, Riley was not a big shots guy. You just have to go off of what we've been with him for 20 plus years. Riley's also not a loner. There is literally nothing in that kid's bones. That's why he's an incredible kid. I mean, the sad part, Riley is the kid in any of these videos sober would have helped that person that did not help him. And Chelsea can verify that. It is just crazy how loving and open this kid was, which also ironically makes him an excellent mark to be a victim for something like this also, which is the part of the world we live in right now.
Yeah, Tom, what about that? I mean, the fact that he is, Tom, such a likable, affable guy, maybe he went up to someone that he shouldn't have gone up to. Curious to your thoughts about that, but also that video we saw a moment ago where he seems to smack his head, Tom.
Well, obviously, the head injury is something that we need to consider, and not every head injury is going to create external bleeding. And it's, and it's entirely possible as he was stumbling around, whether it's due to intoxication or that head injury, that someone approached him, right? And he's a friendly kid and he's going to be receptive to that. And so that's the kind of the nightmare situation, which I'm sure everybody's been running our head through. But Joel, I want to address one other thing that's been nagging at me, and maybe Chris can tell me his knowledge on this, and Doug can weigh in because it's a bit more in his area of expertise. There's this 10 p.m. cell phone ping that puts him in the vicinity of Gay Street and the James Robertson Parkway. But that's a cell tower ping, and it's not as reliable as a geolocation data that comes from the internet, let's say. And so I wouldn't make too much of that, but it's in the right neighborhood, but it takes you within about a kilometer of where he was at that moment. I'd be really interested to hear what location services from Apple or Google Maps have to say about where he was and when that went dark. The law enforcement makes cases every day by placing people at an exact spot and time using that information gathered from subpoenas or search warrants. Chris, are you aware, have the police pursued that, and has it been fruitful at all?
Where we're at with that, and it's extremely frustrating. Riley actually had a smartwatch on, an Apple smartwatch with its own data program. Unfortunately, Riley never set any of it up along with the fitness app. It was just Bluetooth to his phone. So yes, that was Sunday when all this went down. That's the first thing I reached out and said, hey, let's get on his account. If his phone battery went dead, the odds of if his phone battery died, his watch battery dying at the exact same moment would be extremely rare. They have done their search warrants. They went to look for information on it. Like me, I do a lot of stuff with Google. My Google Maps and my Google data is turned on all the time for tracking. Riley's was not. It seems like every time we go at an angle, it just shows how kind of back and calm the kid was. He just was that reserved. He didn't care about any of that. I think Chelsea can talk about, did you guys find out anything on Snap?
Well, I know he shares his Snapchat location, on Snapchat. So Snapchat, when you can share your location with just your friends. So your friend, anyone that is your friend on Snapchat can see your location. And I saw his location the next day, but Snapchat, it'll only hold your location for 24 hours. But on Snapchat, when I looked, his ping on his Snapchat was on the bridge before. So the bridge before where his last ping was on Live 360.
So that's like what he was saying, where the tower pinged and Snapchat, there's a very good chance that in the middle of that is probably where it could have been.
Oh, yes. It's very weird that they were both in the same vicinity, which like my brother and I talked about, they could have been in the same spot, but you have to be on Snapchat for your location to ping. So your Snapchat location will not show where you are unless you are on Snapchat at that very time.
I assume, Chelsea, that his phone has been off this entire time, right? Has not turned back on as far as I know. Miss Wheelassie comes to us from Scotland, wants to know, where would Riley normally keep his bank card? That's important because he dropped that card. Do you know if he'd keep it in a phone case or just a pocket? Do you happen to know?
We actually know Riley had a Michael Kors wallet. It wasn't like a traditional little small card holder with the money clip on it. I did ask that last night. I actually got with Michelle, got what all moms do. They help buy their kids, clothes and make them look good. I got the pants, the sizes, the length of it, the boots that he was wearing, the brand of the boots, the shirt, the brand, and all this stuff. Michelle sent me everything. And I kind of laughed. I looked at my wife and I go, yeah, I've never thought about it. When you want your boys to look great, mom goes out and makes sure they look great. And yeah, he had a Michael Kors designer billfold that he did have with him. And, that is where Riley would keep all of his valuables. Just a quick on that too, there was no billfold found at that section where they found the card. There was people that were questioning, hey, maybe he was bending over. That's when he got sick or fell over. We've even had, people go back down at that exact spot. Once again, looking for any type of DNA, any type of stuff, there was clothes or anything in that section, and it's magically there. If you looked in the pictures, there's also faintly in the background, there's another card that's laying there. It's like a CAD card. Caden, was that it? Chelsea, I think, was the name that was on the card. We
Maybe.
don't know of any of his fraternity brothers that was named Caden or nothing like that. That, you know, that would tie to Riley, but another piece of possible evidence for somebody else was picked up at that exact spot.
And his
Is it,
wallet.
is it, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm
Chelsea.
sorry.
No, you're fine.
Tom,
I'm saying
jump
his
in.
wallet is very distinct. Like it's a. I know this sounds. It's not. I wouldn't say girly, but I want to say girly. I made fun of him one time for it.
I'm going to play this back, Chelsea. I'm going to play this back when we find him. Yeah.
But it does have like MK on it. Like if your wife or you've ever seen a woman carry like an MK purse, it does have the MK on it all the way around it.
The Michael Kors. Tom, what did you want to jump in with there? I'm curious.
Two things. One, that's incredibly significant, right? That the card is actually kept in a wallet under normal circumstances, and there's no reason why he's walking past a homeless encampment and taking his card out, which means that that he either had it out for some foolish reason and dropped it, or more likely that someone took it from him at some point at that homeless encampment. Which is why I go back to the first thing I was saying, Chris, that I'd like to see a police search of that, where they clean out every piece of debris and comb the ground with rakes. However, I want to just check the boxes of the things that I would do if I was conducting the investigation. I can only assume, because it would have come up, that Riley's ATM and credit cards have not been used since the disappearance. Law enforcement of the family has taken the time to see what the last usage was of the card that he had, right?
Yeah, the last usage was exactly at the bar, per what the bar said he did. The card's not been used since. Back.
We lost some of Chris's. Hang on a sec, Chris. We lost your
yesterday.
Go ahead, Chris. We lost your audio.
Are you there?
But you're good. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. When the young ladies found the card, we actually had another TikToker down there that went over, knew some police was in that area with canine dogs, drug them back over. They were on the phone with 911. I'm going to touch base a little bit on this. I had the family down there where they found the card before the detectives were. Within 30 to 40 minutes, the detectives have left the scene, nothing fenced off, nobody there looking for anything, and went back to the police station with the family. My people that were down there TikToking, looking for stuff was just blown away. How this is literally the only piece of physical evidence we found. Yeah. It was verified before the police ever got there that it was legit and Riley's. And we're not crime scene taping this. We're not digging through, pulling rocks, looking through anything. They took it from the girls, took their statement, and left.
Every single piece of debris there should be pulled out of the woods and taken a look at until you have nothing but an empty canvas to begin searching.
Yep. Mama for Coffee here. This is having to do with the surveillance video. I'm sure you've noticed, this goes to all of you, that he pulls his phone out and seems to look behind him with his camera. Chris, is that something that you guys saw when you were looking at these surveillance videos?
We did. And a lot of people don't, we've not been real forth with this. We've let everybody know that his girlfriend that he had recently been seeing had been in communication. She's actually the last one of the family that had talked to him. She literally talked to him either right before the policeman or directly afterwards in that text that she received with Riley. So this is something I've had the opportunity to talk with her a little bit about. I thought that maybe it had happened inside the bar, but Riley responded back to her in that vicinity and was the last correspondence we've had with Riley.
Do you have a timestamp on that, Chris? What time that text or call was?
We do, and this literally come about this afternoon. I've tried, as parents, and you probably understand, I've tried to keep these kids out of the media as much as possible due to the dark side of the media. Yeah, but yes, they've been volunteered. They've turned everything over to the police. The crazy part about it is the police hasn't even said anything to us about her in that text. So we know it as a family because she's been forthcoming. She thanks the world of Riley, and this is just pouring her a pint like there's no tomorrow, like the rest of us. But yeah, she was the last person as far as the communication goes. Chelsea, I don't even know. Like I said, I call it Snapper Chat. The Snapchat, I don't know if maybe he was trying to reach out to her. That may have been the reason it pinged. But just in that general area and vicinity is the timestamp when she received it. Now, we all know that luckily in Nashville, there shouldn't be any really delays sending texts and etc. But yeah, it all goes from that food truck to the last, the video of the police officer and then her getting a received text back. She immediately hopped on the internet, Googling what LOPS meant, a few minutes or whatever, and fired right back, "What is that? Are you okay?" Along those lines, and never heard anything else back from Riley.
Yeah, the text
I will
message
say this.
said- Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just say the text message said "good lops."
Yeah, LOPS. The battery, as far as the phone goes, this once again, I'm going to give you guys another 100 angles to go. The phone was not dead. The phone battery was not dead. The phone was, in essence, as far as I know, was turned off. I've talked to, and you can answer this for me. I've talked to a lot of iPhone people, and they're telling me that they are very, very waterproof. If somebody would have thrown it in the river, it should have at least carried a little bit or shown before it went to the bottom. Is that any truth to that?
Doug, do you happen to know?
I'm not certain on how waterproof. I have an iPhone 15 myself. I heard he had an iPhone 15 Pro Max. I'm not sure exactly how waterproof those phones are.
Right. But
Did
you would
they
think
recover the phone?
even
They didn't recover the phone. Sorry, they didn't recover the phone, did they? No.
that's what I'm telling you. He disappeared. His watch, his phone went dark at the same moment, and he vanished.
How deep? Do we know how deep the river is and at that spot? Like, are we talking? What are we looking at?
We have a lot of friends that fish that. They said depending on the time of the year and what's actually going on through it, it can be anywhere from 3 to 5 feet to 20 feet. So we're at that area where the card was found and he was out. They're saying it's 3 to 4 feet, depending on how the water was, and it gets a little deeper into the channel. Once again, we were dealing with a high volume of water. It peaked at 10 o'clock Saturday morning.
Is there much of a current? I mean, is the water visibly moving as you look at it?
Yes.
Where the card was found, when my brother and dad went with the Cajun Navy, they went right there. They showed me pictures yesterday of where the card was found and them actually on the boat, but a different day. My brother said it is very shallow right there, but it's not as fast streaming as it is in the middle. Like the current isn't as bad just right there. It's mostly very still. It still runs, but not as fast in that area where the water is, where the card was found.
Doug, from your perspective, this credit card that was part of a wallet, which Tom called that significant because it seems like maybe someone got a hold of that wallet. What do you make of that?
I make of it as, it was taken out for some reason of the wallet, or else obviously the wallet would have been left there as well. So it was taken out for some reason. It could have been taken out, and I mean, there's just so many possible scenarios that could have unfolded here. Riley could have been robbed in his inebriated state. He could have passed out and somebody could have robbed him after that and taken his wallet out and then discarded everything they didn't need. There's quite a few scenarios, but it was discarded, and I would hope that law enforcement is at least running possible fingerprints. I don't know if they're going to run DNA off it, but maybe try and get some fingerprints off it, somebody in the system somewhere. Maybe not. I'm not sure. Tom can probably weigh in better on that. The one thing that I wanted to mention was going back to the phone and the phone ping. The law enforcement said that there was a 2-mile radius. The one thing I just want to kind of get across to everybody listening, everybody in the chat, is that phone towers, cell towers, work in polygons. Think of them as polygons. Okay, when you think of it's not a perfect 2-mile radius. It's not a circle. All right, we tend to think of that like that. If you go back to 2G, think of a cell tower and has a small, tiny polygon around it, and that's the 2G network. And that polygon just gets bigger and bigger. It could be any shapes. And what is a polygon? It's a series of straight shapes that connect. Right? That's what a polygon is. So if you can, and they can also take that cell data, and based on when it was, when that ping happened, they can figure out how far from that tower that ping happened. So if they get the correct cell data, they can not only figure out the tower, but how far from that tower and exactly where based on GPS coordinates as well. So it'll just go back to how accurate the data is that they have. And to answer one more question that someone had is, when does a phone ping? I think that came back to the Snapchat as well, because it might, a phone pings every time it receives or sends something, data, or it changes from tower to tower. That's when your phone pings, right? And if you're in one of those polygons that overlaps with another tower, it'll ping back and forth. Okay, so you can even tell where they are there. So that's just kind of some insight on the cell tower ping.
Tom from Ski Hat Sarah, who lives in Nashville, getting your drink spiked on Broadway is very common, unfortunately, followed by this comment a ways down, drink spiked. Listen, there's a whole bunch of conspiracy theories out there, which I know Chris is aware of because he's even checking out the dark web, but without naming who it is. I mean, there's been a lot of young men who've gone missing near rivers, and there's a lot of people who think that this was criminal activity. Tom, for that to be the case, there'd have to be some evidence showing us that, right, Tom?
Yeah, and again, Chris is more familiar than I am with the timeline of events that evening and what pre-gaming took place with the boys drinking before they got to the bar, and I don't have any knowledge there. But Occam's razor would just say that he drank too much over the course of the evening and was involved in an accident or menaced by a local hoodlum of some kind. The idea of someone spiking his drink is something that could have happened, but to what end? Is it a practical joke? Is it someone just trying to be mean? We don't have any evidence from the footage that he's being stalked by anyone, which would be the only real reason to do that, right? You spike someone's drink and then you stalk them so you could rob them. But we've seen so many pieces of footage in so many different places, and he even encountered a police officer along the way. And so I'm not buying that idea that someone spiked his drink with the purpose of then stalking him and then robbing him and harming him. But I'm going to defer to Chris as far as what type of partying took place before the Luke Bryan bar, because I just don't know.
Yeah, Chris, do we know? Was he drinking ahead of time? Were they pre-gaming, as they say?
Once again, we had a little bit of correspondence with the fraternity. Naturally, when they got home, they were told not to talk to anybody. Yeah, as Guy sitting here and Chelsea being a college student, I have no doubt that on the tour bus there, checked into the hotel, there was probably beverages strung out through the evening. Correct. Just a little touch base too with what you were talking about, the cell towers pinging. If you look at the Google Earth view, that detention center is the last video that everybody wants to show that we can't see Riley in. If you go around the corner on First Street, just past the detention center, there's two bail bondsmen. There's an open lot where they're doing construction, and then some higher end apartments. We have scavenged every part of that video. They have voluntarily come up with this and given it to us. And we're at the point now to where the internet sleuths are literally going over every vehicle that come in and out of the detention center, the time it took them to come in and out of it, the dents, etc. We had that discussion. What if, another rabbit hole, what if somebody saw Riley in the state he was in, decided to follow him, a crime of opportunity? All you have to do is pull up right next to the shoulder, open the door. Hey, Riley, your buddy sent me for you. Hop in the car. He's in the car and he's gone. There's no scuffle. There's nothing, but how did they turn the phone off, etc. Every time you try to come up with something that's feasible. But for the record, everything that we have found, and we have looked everywhere and had actually, substantial footage in that area, shows nothing of Riley. If you look across the river, Marathon, I think, has the fuel holding tanks and everything that's over there across the river. I've had 3 people that has had incidents exactly in that area that got a hold of Marathon and was able to get footage, because they have very, very extensive footage to keep them out of the fuel tanks and the homeless community. And, the police finally reached out for that today. We're not even going to talk how many days we're into this, but that was an actual footage that does extremely high visible of the river in that area. And we were just made aware that in the last 24 hours in that area, they had finally reached out to Marathon to receive that footage. So
They have not gotten it yet, though. They're waiting on it.
as far as we know, yes.
Okay. Doug MacGregor, Brooke P., who's part of STS Nation, was kind enough to create and send me these. I think they're Google Maps. I don't really know. But Doug, how important are these like satellite images for the type of work that you do? If you were working this case right now and you were in Ottawa, where you're stationed or based, where you live, what would how would you be using this right now to try to further the investigation?
I'd be starting the same way Brooke did. I'd be creating these maps, just using the timeline, everything from CCTV to the cell phone pings, and I'd be creating a timeline of Riley, where he was at what times, exactly the path, the routes he took, the different landmarks he passed, possible. And then from there, I'd be looking into other potential avenues of investigation. So what locations did he pass that had CCTV, or what corners of the streets had CCTV public cameras on them? And, just doing everything I can to map out absolutely everything. And that's how I start all my investigations, is I map out absolutely everything. Some of it's erroneous. Some of it could be the key to breaking the investigation. So she's done a great job here of starting that. Google Earth is where I start a lot of them, just because Google Earth is the most powerful GIS system out there available to the public. So she's done a great job at that, just to help initiate this investigation that way.
Someone just said Chris is an amazing family spokesperson. I'd have to agree with that. Allie B from Tennessee, Chris and Chelsea, just to show you the type of community we are. She lives there. She's been doing her own searches. She wants to know what kind of jeans did he have on. I found a pair of jeans near where the card was found, but they had a design on the back pockets. Chelsea, do we happen to know what jeans he was wearing that night? Were they Michael Kors with an MK on the back pocket?
I don't think so. I know he usually wore buckle jeans, like BKE jeans, because those are the only length and ones that usually fit him.
What about this, Tom Simon? Could he have broken his phone when he hit that pole? Looks like he reached down to pick something up. STS Nation again, seeing things that I would never see. Chris is shaking his head. No,
I appreciate that. Yeah, but he was actually texting his girlfriend back past that position where he was between the cop and where his phone went. So, yes, it was still functioning at that moment.
Yeah,
Chris,
we have the phone pinging. We have the phone pinging at 10 p.m., which is after that. The exact location of the ping remains a bit of a mystery because of what we were hearing earlier, but we know that was after the head injury of some kind.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. A couple more quick, Chris. I want to be mindful of you and Chelsea's situation. So we usually go on even a little bit longer, but I'm going to let you guys get back to your thing. Just a couple more quick questions here. From what I've read, the family, meaning Michelle, Chris, and Ryan, they don't think that he's in the water. Is that correct? And why are they saying that?
We were blessed right out of the box with the Cajun Navy bass fishermen. It was amazing the response we've gotten in Nashville from just the Nashville community. It's sad that this is such a tragic incident at the moment where we don't have Riley, because the community itself has been phenomenal. Riverboat Queens, I think that's the name of them. I may be, slaughtering that. But they actually literally come right out of the box and said, hey, as soon as we're done with our tours, we're taking our staff back out. Every single day, they have been going up and down the river looking. Barge captains have been looking. We've had side sonar, actually bottom and side sonar boats in the water. At the time all this went down, that Monday, I think we went 14 miles down the river. Literally both sides, et cetera, et cetera. And I understand what he was saying with the volume of water and how he was going through. A lot of people are interested in that too, because it is like a lake, but it is a river. So in that said, there are trees and stuff underneath it that you don't normally find in a large body of water unless you're up against the shore. He could have very easily been 100 miles from there, but I don't have confirmation on it. But literally, and I mean literally within seconds of us finding the card, they found a body in the water yesterday. Talk about getting your heart moving. I take a 30-minute step outside to mow my yard so I don't have to bail it, come in, and I no more literally sit down and my phone lights up with the credit card. Fire department, we found a body, etc. I was told that person may have jumped from a bridge within less than 24 hours of when they were found in that area. I do remember a police report being called out for a possible jumper. When they arrived, nobody was there, etc. There's also more people missing than Riley right now in Nashville, which is crazy to me. And one of the ladies reached out today and was asking me some more information that maybe the fire department gave me because it was a friend of their family. And all we knew is they had a maroon shirt on. And instantly when they said that, we've not had any verification on any of this stuff of a homeless person, short of the lady that talked about it, through a jacket, anybody having Riley's clothes other than Riley at all. We've been in the homeless camps. I've actually got somebody that has been working with this religiously that's been in the camps 8, 9, and 10 o'clock at night, which scares the crap out of me because I'm sitting here in Springfield and can't, we have nobody that right there, and they are just being incredible getting information from me. I want to talk about that, and you guys too, and I know you guys have got to go. I kept emphasizing it was fantastic. The crazy part, TikTok, they had band together and actually went to Nashville this weekend to protest the banning of TikTok. That is how we got so many TikTokers involved in this automatically. They had reached out to me, knew they were coming in town. Hey, is this still something viable? And me being this, I'm like, hey, let's talk, and literally the odds of them coming to Nashville to picket and protest the banning of TikTok gave us the best lead we've got today, and numerous pictures. We may not have a crime scene, but at least we have some pictures of what should be one.
Chelsea, Riley's mom, Michelle, and the stepfather, they're still there, right?
Yes.
What are they do? What is their daily routine like right now?
I know my uncle is out walking around as much as he can. He's also, and Ryan, Riley's dad as well. Since my brother and my dad, they did most of the searching for the first few days just because it was so hard on everyone. So I know that Ryan and Chris are doing as much as they can. My aunt is trying her absolute hardest to help in any way she can, but at the same time, we have told her to stay off of social media as much as possible just because we don't want her reading some of the things that some people say. It's hard for us to read them, let alone his own mom. So, she's staying as strong as she can from the hotel room and walking around when she can, handing out flyers. But Chris might know what Chris and Ryan are doing more now, since my brother and dad are gone. Only because my brother was the one that had been walking in Nashville for miles to try to find clues.
Kimber Miller, Chris, to you, how far has this search been extended? Kimber Miller, this is worst case scenario. Doug talked about this earlier. He plausibly could be 120 miles downstream with the way the currents are going. So she's asking, is anyone looking at the river 100 plus miles away? I'm asking, and so are some of the guests, how far has the search area been extended?
The search area, as far as we physically know, what not our volunteers have done, has been about a 20-mile radius. That is where we're at right now. Knowing what could have happened, I've also been out, it's a very fishable piece of water. They're actually, and he can verify this for me, I know my friends that have fished in Cumberland River, there are locks that are quite frequently down through there to slow the water, raise it, etc. Do you know anything about where the locks are located?
Doug, Tom, no, they're fairly new. So
yeah.
So I don't think.
Well, I do know that. Yeah, I do know that there's, and that's just going back to your 100-mile theory. I've had a bunch of friends that professional fish, and they're like, yeah, man, there's several locks on that river, through the river, for obvious reasons what you use locks for. So in that my mentality, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, that area might be a good area because it's going to back water up for when they're moving stuff through the locks. Once again, we come back. We have boats on that water, barges, tour boats, fishermen. We've been extremely blessed in that. We're not saying he's not in the water. We actually forgot one of the news teams actually has a high def camera in the middle of the bridge that shoots downtown in the stadium 24/7. There's another building that's just to the southeast corner, or would be southwest, but corner of the stadium that faces up to downtown and the stadium and that bridge. Look for their footage. We've not seen any canoes going across the river. We've not seen nothing. Now, granted, there was severe storms in and out at that time, but as we now know for a fact, it was not raining when Riley was last seen within 200 yards.
Tom, to you, there's a question here, and Chris, by the way, Chris, I was saying that we don't have to go anywhere. I'm worried about you because I know you have so much going on. Can you guys do about another 5-10 minutes?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. And then we'll get final thoughts and then we can wrap it up. But and we're going to stay on this case, and I'm going to talk with Chris off air about who we can bring on tomorrow. I want to stay on this case this week and see what we can do from our perch here to try to help the strained family here. But what about the mail? I'm going to try to bring this up as I'm talking about it. There's apparently, and Chris might know this, a white male in the shirt at the start of the crosswalk that's in front of a block street. He seems to have been eyeballing him. I don't know if I've captured that here.
He's not in the camera in that video.
Okay.
But there are two males. Like when you see people walk across the street, they are still on the sidewalk on the other side on the crosswalk, and they stay there. They don't walk across with everyone else. One of them does have a black mask on.
Like a COVID mask?
Yes.
Yeah. So Tom, what do you do in a situation like that where, I mean, because look, there are a lot of cyber sleuths out there who are looking at this video much closer than I've looked at it. They see two guys, as Chelsea just described, eyeballing him. What can be done from an investigative standpoint once that is identified?
I just think it's so important for law enforcement, whether you're an FBI agent or a police officer, to have informants on the street, to have people who can kind of tell you what's happening in a particular neighborhood or zip code. And I'm hoping that the Nashville police have a decent informant and intelligence base there that they can begin drawing from to see if there were any people in the neighborhood any addicts who are looking for something. I find it so significant that the debit card, which I'm assuming has either a Visa or a MasterCard logo on it, was never used, right? That means someone took it from Riley and then thought twice about actually using it and then discarded it, which doesn't bode well for Riley's safety because, in their minds, maybe they knock the kid down and take his money, take his wallet and take the card out and then see that he's not doing well, that this mugging has suddenly become a homicide, and then freaks out, decides to deal with the Riley problem and not use that ATM card. And I hate to say that because I want to be optimistic for the family, but that's what I keep coming back to here is that card didn't go out of his wallet himself.
Just a question too. Have you actually seen the picture of the card when it was found?
I saw the TikTok video when the girls found it. And so it's a bit of a chaotic video because the girls are very excited about having found it and wanted to contact law enforcement as opposed to create content.
I will send you the steals that was sent to me.
Yeah.
And what strikes me extremely odd is that card was on the ground for 8 days, partially covered by a leaf, and is not dirty.
Clean.
That card is not dirty.
So white.
We've had water. You're laying next to 10 feet within a river. There's constant moisture. Lord knows when it barely rains, you go outside and your car's covered in dirt. How is that card that clean?
Yeah.
It just blows my mind.
I don't have a good answer for that, but the fact that it wasn't used frightens me more than I find encouraging.
Yeah.
Doug, from Jerry Michael, could he have jumped in a car, Doug? I know this is a little out of your purview, more into the investigative world, and driven a long ways away and then let out somewhere. Could he be in a totally different area right now, Doug?
I mean, absolutely. I don't know Riley whatsoever, but there's all those avenues that the people closest to him would probably have looked into by now, Chris and Chelsea, and law enforcement may have questioned people close to him about that. But he could hitchhike, he could walk, he could drive somewhere, take a taxi somewhere. I mean, he could fly somewhere. I mean, it's that's something you always have to look into in a missing persons investigation. You can't close any doors, right? You got to keep all possibilities open. But at the same time, you have to prioritize and focus what resources you do have as either law enforcement or as the family.
Chelsea, a lot of people want to know if the fraternity brothers stayed back in Nashville to help. Are they there or just the parents right now? Step parents.
Just the parents. They all went back on Sunday after he went missing.
And how are they doing? They've got to have, I guess, a level of guilt, not feeling great, but just wondering. They shouldn't, but I know that I'm sure they are. But how are they holding up?
I talked to one of them after a few days afterwards. I think Monday or Tuesday, I talked to one of them. That is one of his roommates, and he is distraught. I mean, he wasn't at the bar with him when it happened, and he kept telling me, what if I would have been? Like, he was just those things like in your head. So he was not doing well, but since I haven't been in contact with any of them since then, but
I just want to read something real quick. This is a statement from Luke's 32 Bridge. That is Luke Bryan's bar. They said at 9:35 p.m., our security team made a decision based on our conduct standards to escort him, Riley Strain, from the venue through our Broadway exit at the front of the building. He was followed down the stairs with one member of his party. The individual with Riley did not exit and returned upstairs. That is a company statement. I just want to get some final thoughts here. An amazing show because we were joined, obviously, by Chelsea's first cousin, and the family spokesperson, Tom Simon. He served with the FBI for 26 years as a special agent. He now has Simon Worldwide Investigations, a full-service private investigative firm. I always say best guess, better community. Our community goes above and beyond. But I'll tell you what, so many of our best guests, including Doug MacGregor right here, has worked pro bono to help Rachel Morin's family, and I know he's going to want to connect with Riley Strain's family. Tom, any final words of wisdom from you with all your years of experience in the FBI?
I think the family's lucky to have Chris and Chelsea on board, and Chris and I are, I think, of the same mind about some of the missteps that have happened along the way and what the Nashville police can do to remedy that, to really put this thing to rest.
Doug MacGregor, he's better known as the Geoprofiler. He's a forensic behavioral analysis and a consultant specializing in geographic profiling. Went to Missouri State, not Mizzou, but Missouri State. He lives in the Great White North in Ottawa, Canada, and is an all-around great guy. Doug, what would you be doing now if, I asked you this earlier on. If you were sitting up tonight, what would you be working on? What would be your focus?
I think you're both doing a great job, and I would just encourage you to keep doing your own investigation. Separate from law enforcement. They usually do their activities and have procedures they follow, but I would keep conducting your own. I would keep canvassing, get searches going. I would search that area, and as smart and as intelligent as Riley is, I'd be searching everywhere from the place last seen that he was out in a circle, construction sites, manholes, abandoned buildings. I'd be going into all of those places. If he was chased by somebody and he was hiding somewhere and then got hurt, like, I'd be searching everywhere in a radius moving outwards. If you're searching the river, I wouldn't stop at locks. There's always two routes to a river. Locks are just simply to get humans from one level to another, but there's always another route the river takes, the water takes. So I'd be continuing those searches downriver as well, if the river is considered a possibility, which just the proximity it likely is, and keep doing what you can as the family and friends.
By the way, someone pointed out for all the ills about modern technology, the fact that we can bring on a family with these experts is pretty cool here on YouTube, where the world can see it. Chelsea Strain is Riley Strain's first cousin. Chelsea, I'm leaving it wide open. Your final thoughts today. I know you'll see your cousin again. What would you like, your final thoughts, and what would you like STS Nation to do to help?
Just keep putting his name out there. Since it has been as long as it has, this is some of the moments where most people start to forget about. I know we're trying to still push Riley as hard as we can. That's why we're doing things like this, is to still keep his name out there and still try to get people to look for him. Like, if you're just walking down the street and just, I mean, any moment you can just think of something or just pray for him. I mean, at any moment, just pray for either his safety or that we find him and bring him home soon. But like I said, we just want to keep getting his name out there so people don't forget about him during this time.
And we're not going to forget about him. As a matter of fact, I'm going to text you guys right after we get off the show and see if there's someone you can offer us tomorrow to keep this story alive and throughout the week. Chris Dingman is the Riley family spokesperson, an amazing spokesperson. I spent 27 years in media. It's rare that you get a guy like Chris Dingman who's all over, knows the ins and outs of the story so well and is so well spoken. You said you were in media. What did you do, Chris?
I've topped you a little bit there. You're a pup. I'm about 35 years into it. I've traveled all over the country, United States, in power and motorsports stuff for Discovery Channel, stuff like that. And it's been really hard on me, one, to be politically correct in today's society. And I've spent my life entertaining people and keeping them motivated, keeping them excited. And I've joked around it. This is not a joking matter, but I've trained for this my entire life. We just want our boy home. We're playing chess right now. The gentleman, every one of you understand, Chelsea understands, we're playing chess right now. We don't know who we're playing against. Every move we make, we have to be methodical about it, surgical. I can say things that I can and cannot, and I can poke this bear here, but can't tickle it there. And when Riley's found, it's going to be entertaining. We're going to have a podcast, maybe put it pay-per-view because of things that'll be said, but that might be quite entertaining, fellas. Trust me. That's the reason I've retired, is for this reason. But hey, this podcast, I'm all in, but yeah,
well,
it
Chris,
is what it is.
What last thing, what can STS Nation, and trust me, they will do it. Are there photos you want circulated on social media that you can send me? What is it that you need from them?
I will have Chelsea. She's been taking care of the photos. She actually has a little bit more of that. Honestly, that's been really frustrating for me. These kids, they Snapchat. They get that disposable picture and it's gone. I said, you guys are so lucky. Mom and dad had the black and whites, had to go in the room and shake the water out of them, and they were forever. I would love to find some more pictures of Riley. We've been blessed. We've had several people that was in the bar that night that sent us, broad pictures. But if you find, or if you've been a friend with Riley or the family, if you've got a personal picture with you and the family, I understand if you don't want your family in it, but we would love to have some more pictures. Unfortunately, right now we've got about 10 to 20 of them that we can use that are current. And you want to use the most current picture to find what who he is at this moment. But yeah, just please, if you see anything on the internet, you may not think it's valuable. We want to see it. Let me and the crew and everybody else decipher what you found. You might just be the person that brings Riley home.
And I'll have Chelsea send me all those photos. I'll put them up on my Twitter account at podcast STS. I know the Geoprofiler will retweet them. And then on Instagram at Surviving the Survivor, on Instagram at Surviving the Survivor, we will get them out there. Let's keep Riley in our thoughts. Definitely keep him in the present tense. He's out there. We're going to find him. And we're going to stay on this story all week. Love you, America. Love you, Missouri. Love you, Nashville, Tennessee, Ottawa, Canada, Florida, where I am along with Tom. And, of course, let's help find Riley Strain. I'll see you tomorrow. Keep an eye out on my Twitter account. I'm going to reach out to Chris and Chelsea. We're going to do another show on this tomorrow. And we're doing Maddie Soto a horrible story out of Orlando, Florida, but one that needs to be told, and that will be at 5 p.m. tomorrow. And Riley Strain, we're going to find a time slot for that story tomorrow. Until then, love you, America.